This is Robert Harper with Virginia Farm Bureau's Grain Division, bringing you the Merchandiser Minute for Friday, June the 14th, 2019, at the end of a very exciting week in regard to futures price action. Let's take a look at what USDA told us as we came into the week on Monday. We got the crop progress report at 4 o'clock, and the USDA showed that the corn was 83% planted. Normally, the 5-year average were at 99%. When we look at soybeans, USDA told us that 60% of the nation's crop was planted, 88% is average, and if you do some quick math, we were able to tell about 30 million acres were still needed to go in the ground. We're starting now on Mondays during the crop progress report release. You will be able to see the quality conditions, and we saw corn come in Monday at 59% good to excellent, which is very far off the 5-year average. When we look at the export inspections and the export sales report this week, both of those report Monday and Thursday respective. They were very lackluster, kind of as expected to below expectations. One thing to mention here is futures price rally. We know that we do price ourselves out of a lot of export business, and we might see that taking shape going forward. Also this week, obviously, we dealt with the crop production report, the June report from USDA, and the World Board gave us a WASDE report this month. And the real shocker was something that hadn't happened in 25 years. The USDA lowered the corn yield from the May report to the June report, and they took 10 bushels to the acre off of the expected yield. They dropped it from about 176 bushels expected yield to 166 bushels. They also took 3 million acres off, and that's a big deal too, and is kind of alluding to the July report when they might adjust those numbers down again. If you look at that, that's putting corn at 89.8 million acres planted, and you do the math, 82.4 million acres harvested. When you take that acre number and you take the reduction in yield, that's 1 billion bushels of production that the USDA pulled between the May and the June report, and that was definitely part of the big price rally this week. The USDA left beans alone. We know we've got a lot of time with beans still, even though the crop has gone in late, and we'll see if we get more in. With rain being forecasted in the eastern corn belt over the next 7 days, that we're up for debate again how much of those 30 million acres of beans that were left to be planted will actually get planted. It dawned on me today too that if, say in Ohio, if they get rain, they can't plant till next week. The beans don't emerge until July the 1st. You're really looking at beans coming out of the ground about 2 weeks after the longest day of the year. So we could really see a big yield drag on those beans. When we also think about the carryover on the beans side from the supply and demand report, we saw this week still billion bushel carryover numbers, and we know that's negative to price. But take a look at something here. If we go back a month, if we go back to May the 13th, December corn futures at today's close are $1 a bushel higher at $4.63. November beans, your new crop bean futures contract, we closed $1.08 above the low today, the low on May the 13th. So November beans have rallied $1.08 since then, and July wheat has rallied $1.20 since those lows that we made on May 13th. Thinking about today's commitment of traders report, where is that managed money speculator at? We know we need to know his and her opinion about price direction because they're betting on which way it's going to go. Today we see the managed money speculator with a very small, long position, 2,000 contracts. Basically, they've gotten themselves back to neutral. When we look at soybeans, not much changed from last week. The managed money speculator is short still, short about 90,000 contracts. And we've got the corn speculator now long, and long with a fairly good sized position at 100,000 contracts long, futures contracts. So keep that in mind as you go into next week. We saw a report this week from the Russian Ag Ministry, a 79 million metric ton wheat crop. That's a pretty big headwind for wheat to get through. We're also looking at coming into the week with getting away from those Mexican tariffs. President Trump did a lot of negotiating last weekend. That took a lot of pressure off of the market. Keep your eye on how strong the dollar is as we look to next week, and also on what crude oil is doing. U.S. is producing about 12 million barrels a day right now. Keep your eye on that and how it relates to corn. So give us a call if we can help you next week. Corn basis is strong. We wish you well in the wheat field as you begin harvest. This is Robert Harper with Farm Bureau's Grain Division.